Here we're going on to completing our next scenario, Mythological Animatronic Film Set. This is a pre-built park with already a few coasters. It's quite a big park actually, with some difficult landscaping here and there, and our objective for this scenario is to achieve a park value of 320,000 before the end of October year 3. As we start, we have 118,000 park value, so there's a lot to increase there. We have 10,000 to start with, no loans to repay, and it's a pay-through park entrance. Even though we start with seemingly already complete park, we do have some problems we need to resolve. Mainly financially, we can see if we let the game sit for the first month, there is a big loss in money. Over 1,000 was lost in fact when I let my game sit in the first month. So firstly, let's figure out how we increase our income as we want to get more revenue, and that would mainly be in our park entrance fees. Interestingly, it starts off at 10 per park entrance ticket, so we can go ahead and increase it to 40, as this will be a massive difference to your income. Then for another stream of income, put some shops down to increase food and drink sales, and also knock up the price a little bit as well, as I believe all food prices for RCT in general is quite cheap by default. I would recommend putting down some toilets, as plenty of your guests already need to go to the toilet for some reason, and it's probably because of the lack of toilets in the park for the size of the park in general. Now let's look at the expenditures, as the main one for me is the staff wages. When you start the park, you have too many hired staff. I made many staff members redundant, mainly the security guards, but there definitely were redundancies all round, with a change of staff priorities with the 2 handymen as they are mowing the lawns, which you don't want. But mainly I deleted all security guards, as I don't feel like you really need any for this park, and I deleted all my entertainers as well sacking a lot of handymen and mechanics. And now that we have all those loose ends tied up, let's get into the objective. So the main factor for park value is the rides and the ride stats. Park value isn't dependent on how much a ride costs, but the stats of the rides itself. You can spend thousands on a roller coaster, however if the stats aren't too great, you're better off having a very cheap coaster with high excitement. You can do the method of placing a load of small coasters with high excitement to have a very cheap way of getting good park value. You can put down a row of 10 of these if you must, and it would work extremely well. This is a bit of an exploit though, so if you want to do it properly, you can take my advice of building cheap coasters with high stats, and that would just work just fine. Again, I have to emphasize that a expensive coaster doesn't equate to higher park value. It's all dependent on the ride stats. If you were to play it properly, it's good to note that you can't get much of a loan, as it's set to 10,000 max, so increasing your finances to afford these rides may be quite difficult. This may require quite a lot of waiting, which will dig into the years and will slowly decrease your park value, which can become quite a challenge. Okay, so let's say you've reached 320,000 park value. That's great, however, over time park value does fluctuate and it mainly does decrease. So let's say you're in year 2, you may think, okay, I've reached my 320,000 park value mark, I can just leave my game running from here on out and I would win the game. But no, in fact, if you just leave it, it would just go back down to the 200,000, and of course if you let it just run, you would eventually lose. Park value is something you have to maintain and keep boosting over time, as rides do age. The more a ride ages, the more its hidden age stat multiplier goes down, and of course the ride stats equate to park value. As well, perhaps guests can generally get bored of a ride, but I believe it's more on the ride aging. So throughout the scenario, it's a back and forth of building rides, getting more income to increase and maintain park value. The failure conditions, which I haven't really discussed yet, is to achieve your objective on the end of October year 3. Which wasn't actually too difficult. You have to watch out for your park value, especially within the last few months, and perhaps if you're struggling, start opening rides on that last month, as you can manage to get a burst of park value upon doing so. So in terms of a failure condition, it's not too much of a difficult one to have to achieve. So all in all, this scenario wasn't actually too bad. It's fairly simple and actually rather straightforward. So if this video was helpful, please leave a like, and if you have any constructive opinions, please leave it in the comments below, especially if it helps others out. I'll see you on the next video.